It was 3:06 a.m. when my front door exploded off its hinges. I don't mean that metaphorically. There was a literal bang, a shower of splinters. And 4 men in black tactical vests rushed into my home yelling, HOA enforcement, like they were on some kind of budget SWAT raid. Only problem was, they weren't law enforcement. They weren't even part of the HOA. They were just thugs in knockoff uniforms. And that night, they made one fatal mistake. They picked the wrong house to break into. My name's Jared Klein. I'm a retired Army Ranger, now a stay-at-home dad to my 12-year-old son, Logan. We live in a quiet cul-de-sac on the edge of a small lake town in Minnesota. My wife passed away 3 years ago from an aneurysm, left suddenly, without warning, and since then, it's just been the two of us. Logan's the kind of kid who builds Lego tanks with working suspension and reads books on military strategy for fun. I've tried to keep his childhood as normal as I could, but that night stole something from him I'll never get back. The HOA in our neighborhood had gotten weird. After a leadership shakeup last year, this woman named Cheryl Ross took over. She wasn't elected, just sort of declared herself acting president after the old one moved out. Claimed there was a loophole in the bylaws that allowed her to assume control in the absence of quorum. I called it BS. Most people didn't care. But then the notices started showing up. She fined my neighbor $200 for leaving their trash bins out, more than 37 minutes past pickup. Another guy got cited for a non-compliant paint shade because his house was off-white instead of eggshell cream. I stayed quiet. Until one day she decided my truck, my old F-250 that I parked on the side of the driveway, was a military-style vehicle. And apparently, in her world, those weren't allowed on residential lots. Then tacked on processing fees that brought it up to over $3,800. I told her, very plainly, this is harassment. Leave us alone. She smiled like I just handed her a challenge. I didn't know she'd go this far. Nobody did. Back to that night. The door crashes open. I reach for the 9mm I keep in a biometric safe by the bed, but I'm too slow. One of the guys is already in our bedroom, shouting, waving a flashlight in my face. Another one yanks the blanket off me and shouts something about resisting HOA inspection. I catch a glimpse of the vest, black nylon, white block letters that say security enforcement. No badge, no name tag, no authority. I don't move. I raise my hands. You've got the wrong house. I say. He shoves me back down. Nope. Right house. Non-compliant vehicle on record. We're authorized to inspect and impound. They're not even pretending to be subtle. Another guy's already in the living room tearing through drawers, calling out, found cash. One more is shouting at Logan, who's now standing in the hallway, barefoot, shaking, trying to understand what's happening. That's when it happened. See, a few months earlier, I'd started teaching Logan gun safety. Just basic stuff. How to hold it, how to unload it, how to respect it, never to touch it without me around. But I also told him, if someone ever breaks in and I can't help you, you do whatever it takes to survive. I never thought he'd need to remember that. But he did. Logan didn't scream. He didn't cry. He slipped back into his room while the guy in the hallway turned his back. He opened the little biometric lockbox we kept on the high shelf in the closet, the one we practiced with every few weekends. Inside was a .22 Ruger pistol. Small caliber, but enough to make a point. I didn't see him do it, but I heard the shot. Pop. Then silence. Then screaming. The guy in the hallway went down, clutching his thigh, blood blooming through his black cargo pants. Logan stepped out, pale as a ghost, both hands on the gun like we practiced, and said in the calmest voice I've ever heard, drop your weapons, or I'll shoot again. You could have heard a pin drop. The guy in our bedroom froze. The guy in the kitchen cursed and bolted out the back. The one rifling through our drawers hesitated, then followed. Within seconds, 3 of them were gone. Tires screeching as they peeled away in a black SUV with no plates. Logan didn't lower the gun until I got up and took it from him. His arms were shaking. His eyes didn't blink for almost a full minute. I held him, told him he did the right thing, that I was proud of him, that he was safe now. The fourth guy, the one he shot, was still groaning on the floor. I called 911, told them we had an intruder, he was armed, and my son had fired in self-defense. The dispatcher asked me to confirm. Your son shot the intruder? I said yes. She paused for a second and then said, Sir, police are en route. Keep the gun secured. We'll take it from here. Cops showed up 6 minutes later. Real cops. With real badges. They handcuffed the guy, read him his rights, and called for an ambulance. They asked me what happened. I showed them the fake uniform, the plastic badge. The ridiculous printout that said, HOA warrant of entry. One of the officers actually laughed. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, he said. They made their own warrant? Apparently. Cheryl had cooked up an entire fake enforcement division, printed fake documents, ordered fake gear online. She thought if she called it Neighborhood Security Task Force, it'd sound legit. She even filed a 501c nonprofit listing to make it look real. But it wasn't. It was just her and a bunch of buddies trying to scare people into compliance. They traced the SUV to her boyfriend, a guy named Doug who had a record for impersonating law enforcement. The guy Logan shot? Turns out he was on parole. Cheryl claimed it was all a misunderstanding, that she thought they were doing compliance checks, and had no idea they'd go so far. She was arrested for conspiracy to commit home invasion, impersonating law enforcement, and reckless endangerment. The others are facing similar charges. Logan? The DA cleared him the next morning. Said it was the clearest case of juvenile self-defense they'd ever seen. No charges. No probation. Nothing. But that doesn't mean it didn't leave a mark. For weeks afterward, Logan didn't sleep right. He kept checking the locks. Kept asking if we should move. One night, I heard him whisper to himself, I thought I was gonna die. That broke me. I sat with him on the edge of his bed, held his hand, and said, You were brave. Braver than I ever was at your age. But you don't have to be brave anymore. That's my job now. We got therapy. We got security cameras. We got a new reinforced front door with steel hinges. And Logan? He's doing better now. He doesn't bring it up much, but I see it in his drawings. He used to sketch tanks and helicopters. Now he sketches our house, with tall walls and searchlights, but he draws us inside, smiling. Sometimes people ask me if I regret teaching him how to use that gun, if I wish I'd handled things differently. And you know what? I don't. Because that night, it wasn't just our house they broke into. It was our sense of safety, our right to live without fear. And Logan stood up to it. He didn't want to be a hero. He just wanted to protect his dad. And in doing that, he saved us both. So here's my question to you. What would you do if someone pretending to be authority broke into your home at 3 a.m., dragging your kid out of bed, waving a fake badge? Would you freeze? Would you fight? Would your child know what to do? Let me know in the comments. And if you've ever dealt with a corrupt HOA, or someone abusing power behind a fake title, share your story. People need to know they're not alone. And that sometimes, standing up starts with one small voice, saying no more.